Hello and welcome. My name is Bonnie and today I'm going to be doing a book review of The Queen's Shadow by E.K. Johnston. Now before we get into the review, can we take a moment to appreciate the beautiful cover art done by Tara Phillips. This is stunning and I can't stop looking at it. Queen's Shadow is about the last few days of Padme Amidala's rule as Queen of Naboo and the beginning of her transition into the Senate. Now this book is not what I thought that it was going to be, just because there's no central plot line. It's nothing like the Clone Wars animated TV show. It was more just like a year in the life of Padme Amidala, which I did like. I just was not expecting that going into it. The very first taste of this book we get is the prologue, and it started out with a bang. We see a behind-the-scenes look at Queen Amidala and her handmaidens and what they were doing in the moments before the Trade Federation touched down on Naboo to begin their invasion in Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. And immediately I was hooked. It was a fantastic way to start the book. And it was giving me information that I did not even know that I had been craving. The story starts out on Nubian election day and a new queen is to be crowned. While the elections are going on, Padme Amidala and her handmaidens are staying at a secluded lake house and they are talking about their next career and life moves. And I really loved this part of the book because we get to see how bonded they are with each other, and we get to see their individual relationships and friendships, and we get to meet each handmaiden and their own personality, and they have their own specialty. When the next queen was crowned, she asks Padme to become the senator for Naboo. And even though Padme had never even considered that to be a next step in her life, she quickly accepted and was given new handmaids and a new security detail. And then she was off to the Senate. And while Padme is on her way to Coruscant, her handmaiden Sabe is on a mission. Now Sabe is one of the original handmaidens, and she was the main decoy played by Keira Knightley in Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. And so when Padme was asked to become the senator, she had to drop all of the plans that she had made for what she was going to do when she was a free woman. Now Sabe offered to pick those plans right back up and do them in her place. And so the big mission for Sabe to take over was to go to Tatooine and free as many slaves as possible. The overall story for the rest of the book is Padme trying to fit herself in the Senate. And the characteristics that she had when she was the queen didn't work so well in the Galactic Senate setting, so she had to adapt and work on her insecurities to be accepted by her peers. But simultaneously, the tabloids, some of which were owned by the Trade Federation, were trying their best to tear her down. Now I am going to go into some more details from the book, which will contain some lightweight spoilers. This book is full of fascinating details about the levels of security and preparedness for Queen Amidala, and I wrote some down and I'm going to read them off to you because I didn't want to forget any. Firstly, each handmaiden basically has to pass through spy school and rigorous training in order to be hired. And when the handmaidens were first hired to work with Padme, they changed their names in her honor, and that's why they all have a similar name pattern. Padme's main decoy was Sabe, and they worked together to create the deep monotone voice displayed by Queen Amidala so they could both replicate it perfectly. The queen's dresses were huge and woven with Carlini silk, which would protect her and anyone standing behind her from blaster fire. The jeweled brooches that adorned her gowns could conceal recording devices or personal shields. And lastly, the ornate headpieces and grand outfits were designed to divert attention from her face in case a decoy needed to be used. There were many callbacks and references to the Star Wars universe, and we got to meet a lot of the people that showed up in the Star Wars movies, as well as the Clone Wars TV show. And I jotted these down so that I wouldn't forget any. So first we see Padme meet Bail Organa and Mon Mothma for the first time. We see Padme meet Rush Clovis for the first time. He's from the animated TV show, and he started in the Senate at the same time as her. We get to see Anaconda Farr. He's also from the Clone Wars TV show. And Senator Mina Bonteri, again from the Star Wars TV show. And then lastly, we get to see a little meetup at Dex's Diner that we see in episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now for my assessment of the writing. I think that it was incredibly easy to read. I seemed to zoom right through it. I love the way that each character had their own voice, and we got to see these bonds and friendships between Padme and her handmaidens. I really, really liked most of the writing. But then I do have my critiques. The missions, example, the Tatooine anti-slave mission, was not very well laid out or made clear as to what they were actually doing or what outcome they were hoping for. And then sometimes there would be a directive that was executed, but then it just didn't lead anywhere. So that was kind of disappointing and a letdown. There were some stories that we learned, and I was really excited to hear more about them, but then the focus moved on, and I was like, wait, are we not gonna talk more about this? That was really interesting. Can we go back? Like, I'm starving for details here. I wanna know. And they just, it was gone, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll look that up online later. In some of the conversations, there were not enough descriptors to tell me the mood of what was going on. Like in a conversation, the way it was laid out, the words they used, they could have easily been like a friendly conversation, or it could have been sassy and like they were annoyed. Like it could go either way. I definitely needed more adjectives to tell me about the mood and the tone of the conversation. My very last critique is not about the writing, it is about something that I think was not true to a character. And so at one point in the book, Padme says, I hate Neimoidians, and I hate that I hate them. And I personally think that that was a very out of character thing for her to say. I think if she had said, I hate the Trade Federation, that would have been totally acceptable. But because she said, I hate Neimoidians, so she just put every single Neimoidian in that. She hates every single last one. And I just do not believe that Padme would say something like that. So I did not like that. Aside from those nitpicks, I really did love reading this book. I adore Padme, and I think it was a beautiful story, and I really cared about all of the characters. I recommend this book to any Star Wars fan, and I will definitely be reading it again myself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did like it, give it a thumbs up for me so that I know that you liked it, and subscribe even if you haven't already. That would be really cool. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope to see you again soon. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.